Welcome to Vicky Whispers, your peaceful retreat for quiet evenings and deep restorative sleep. Here, in this tranquil space, sleep stories and bedtime stories are lovingly created to help you unwind, relax, and experience the best sleep time. Before we begin tonight's journey, take a moment to settle in your cozy space. Whether you're lying in bed, nested in a soft blanket, or reclining in your favorite chair, let your body find its most comfortable position. Feel the surface beneath you, solid, steady and ready to support you as you let go of the day. Now, take a deep breath. Gentle breathe in through your nose. Let it fill you with calm. Hold it briefly and slowly exhale through your mouth. With each breath, notice the tension dissolving, your shoulders easing, your hands softening, your jaw unclenching. Let your body begin to relax, as though it's releasing every care you've carried today. If you'd like, close your eyes or let them rest softly. Picture yourself in a serene setting, a quiet meadow bathed in soft twilight, or a tranquil stream where the water flows gently over smooth stones. Imagine this place as your own personal refuge, where peace and calm flow effortlessly. With every breath, feel yourself letting go. The day's tasks, thoughts, and worries are slipping away, leaving you with nothing to do but relax. This is your moment, your time to unwind and prepare to get sleepy, allowing your body and mind to embrace deep relaxation. As my voice guides you through tonight's bedtime story, let it carry you like a gentle lullaby. Feel each word wrapping around you like a soft blanket, soothing and comforting. The story will lead you deeper into calmness, preparing your body for the peaceful rhythm of deep sleep. Take another deep breath in and release. With each exhale, feel yourself sinking further into comfort, your body growing heavier, your mind quieter. Let the stillness of the night welcome you, as though it's cradling you in its tender embrace. You are safe here, you are calm, and you are ready to let go. This is your time to drift, to relax, and to experience the most tranquil, restorative sleep you've ever had. As the story begins, let yourself surrender completely. There's no need to hold on to anything. Just let the words guide you as you float gently into the soothing embrace of sleep. Now, let's begin. The Elves and the Shoemaker by Grimm Brothers, modified and read by Viktor Hejna. Once upon a time, in a small village nested in the heart of a bustling trade route, there lived a humble shoemaker named Elves. He was known for his fine craftsmanship, a skill passed down to him through generations of his family. His shoes, meticulously stitched and designed for comfort, had once been sought after by merchants, travelers, and even the local gentry. But as the years rolled on, times grew hard on Elves. The decline began subtly. A missed payment here, a cancelled order there. Larger workshops in nearby towns started mass-producing shoes, offering them at prices Elves could not match. One by one, his customers drifted away, lured by the cheaper alternatives. Despite his talent and dedication, Elves found himself struggling to make ends meet. His once thriving workshop fell silent, and the smell of fresh leather and beeswax polish that used to fill the air became a faint memory. Now his days were spent in solitude, with only the creak of his workbench and the occasional chirp of sparrows outside his window for company. His wife, Clara, did her best to keep their modest home warm and welcoming, but even her cheerful spirit faltered under the weight of their dwindling fortunes. With each passing month, their savings dwindled until at last all Elves had left was a small scrap of leather, just enough to craft a single pair of shoes. That night, as the chill of winter seeped through the shutters, Elves sat at his workbench, determined to make one final effort. By candlelight, he carefully cut the leather into the shapes needed for the shoes. His fingers, though skilled, trembled slightly as he worked, aware of the importance of this last pair. If he could sell these shoes, perhaps he could buy more leather and keep the dream alive for just a little longer. Clara watched from the doorway, her face lined with quiet worry. She did not speak, knowing her husband's heart was heavy enough. Instead, she offered a small smile and a warm blanket, draping it over his shoulders before retreating to their tiny bedroom. Alone with his thoughts, Elves prayed silently for a miracle. Then, with the leather pieces neatly arranged on his workbench, he retired to bed, his conscience clear. He had done all he could. Morning broke, with the first rays of sunlight streaming through the frost-covered panes. Elias, still groggy from sleep, made his way to the workshop, expecting to find the unfinished pieces waiting for him. But when he pushed open the creaking door, he stopped in his tracks, his breath catching in surprise. There, on the workbench, stood a pair of shoes, fully finished. They were perfect. The leather gleamed as if freshly polished, and the stitches were so precise that even Elias, with his decades of experience, could not have done better. He picked up one shoe, turning it over in his hands, marveling at the flawless craftsmanship. Who could have done this? Had Clara stayed up through the night to help him? But no, the work was far beyond her skill. It was as if a master shoemaker had visited his humble workshop and poured their soul into these shoes. As he stood there, puzzled yet deeply grateful, the workshop door swung open. A merchant from a nearby town entered, his eyes immediately drawn to the gleaming shoes on the bench. "These are exquisite," the man exclaimed. "How much for this pair?" Elias hesitated, unsure of how to price such perfection. When he finally named a modest sum, the merchant laughed and handed him double, insisting that shoes of such quality deserved a higher price. With the unexpected windfall, Elias hurried to the leather seller's stall and purchased enough material for 2 more pairs of shoes. That evening, with renewed hope, Elias prepared the leather for the next day's work. He cut the pieces carefully, arranging them neatly on the bench before retiring to bed. As he lay beside Clara, he whispered to her about the strange events of the day. She listened, her brow furrowed, but said nothing, choosing instead to offer a prayer of gratitude before they both drifted off to sleep. The following morning, the mystery deepened. Once again, the shoes were complete. The same flawless stitching, the same gleaming finish. It was as if some unseen hand had worked through the night. And just like the day before, buyers seemed to appear as if drawn by fate, eager to purchase the exquisite footwear. Elias sold the pairs at a handsome price and bought enough leather for 4 more shoes. This cycle repeated itself each day. Elias would cut the leather and lay it out in the evening, only to find the finished products waiting for him each morning. His reputation began to grow once more, and the villagers marveled at the quality and speed of his work. They whispered among themselves about the shoemaker's sudden change of fortune, some calling it divine intervention, others attributing it to sheer luck. Elias himself could not explain it, but he was grateful beyond measure. As the weeks went by, the humble workshop that had once been on the brink of ruin flourished. Elias and Clara no longer worried about where their next meal would come from or how they would keep the house warm during the bitter winter nights. The shoemaker's skill, coupled with the mysterious nightly assistance, had restored not only his livelihood, but also his spirit. Yet, even as his fortunes improved, Elias could not shake the curiosity that gnawed at him. Who was helping him, and why? These questions lingered in his mind, growing more insistent with each passing day. Little did he know that the answers would soon reveal themselves, changing his life in ways he could never have imagined. As the days grew shorter and the chill of winter deepened, the shoemaker's home glowed with an unusual warmth. Elias and Clara had regained their comfort and joy. The hardships of the past, now a fading memory. Their fortunes had taken a miraculous turn, yet a nagging curiosity persisted in Elias's heart. Each morning he marveled at the flawless shoes left on his workbench, but he could not resist until he uncovered the mystery behind his unseen benefactors. One evening, as the frost painted delicate patterns on the window panes, and the faint hum of carols echoed from the village square, Elias prepared for bed after cutting out the next batch of leather. But tonight, as the leather lay ready on the bench, he paused, turning to Clara, who was knitting by the fireplace. He voiced his thoughts. "Clara," he began, his voice laced with determination, "our blessings have been beyond measure, and for that I am grateful. But I cannot go another night without knowing who has been helping us. What do you think? Should we stay awake and see who comes to our aid?" Clara looked up from her knitting, her expression thoughtful. She shared her husband's curiosity, and trust be told, she too had often wondered about the mysterious hands that had transformed their lives. She nodded, a faint smile tugging at her lips. "Yes, Elias, I believe it is time we found out. We owe them our gratitude, and it is only right to know who they are." With that, Clara fetched a candle and set it on the windowsill. Its soft glow illuminating the humble workshop. Together they arranged a makeshift hiding spot behind a curtain of clothes hung near the corner of the room. They settled and quietly, their breaths barely audible as they waited. Hours passed. The silence of the night broke only by the occasional crackle on the fire in the adjoining room. Midnight approached, the hour when all was still, just as the clock began on chime. Elias and Clara heard the faintest rustle, like the fluttering of leaves in a breeze. From the shadows emerged two tiny figures, and the couple stifled gasps of surprise. The intruders were not ordinary folk. They were elves, tiny, graceful, and otherworldly. Their bare feet padded softly across the floor, and their small, delicate hands moved with purpose. Though entirely naked, they carried themselves with an air of dignity. Their skin glowed faintly in the candlelight, and their movements were quick and precise, as if they had been doing this work for centuries. The elves climbed onto the workbench, their nimble fingers immediately setting to work. They stitched, sewed, and hammered with astonishing speed, transforming the scattered pieces of leather into shoes that were nothing short of masterpieces. Elias watched, his eyes wide with wonder, as the elves worked in perfect harmony, their expressions calm and focused. Clara clutched her husband's arm, her heart swelling with awe and gratitude. These tiny beings had been the source of their salvation, bringing life back to their struggling business and hope to their weary souls. The couple remained hidden, watching until the elves finished their work. Without so much as a word, the little creatures admired their handiwork, nodded in satisfaction, and scampered off into the night as swiftly as they had come. When morning came, Elias and Clara sat together at the breakfast table, their minds still reeling from the previous night's events. It was Clara who spoke first, her voice brimming with warmth and resolve. Elias, these little ones have given us so much. Without them, we would still be struggling, and perhaps even destitute. It is time we showed them our gratitude. Elias nodded slowly, a faint smile crossing his lips. But how, Clara? They vanish into the night as quickly as they appear. What could we possibly offer them that would match the kindness they have shown us? Clara's eyes sparkled as an idea took shape in her mind. Did you not see how they were dressed, or rather, how they weren't dressed? They had nothing to protect them from the cold. It's winter, and surely they must feel the bite of the frost as they flit about. We could make them clothes, Elias. Warm clothes that fit their tiny frames. Elias's smile broadened. Yes, Clara, that's a wonderful idea. I'll craft them a pair of shoes each, small enough for their delicate feet, but sturdy enough to last them through their travels. And you, my dear, could sew them shirts, coats and trousers, and perhaps knit them stockings to keep their feet warm. Clara clapped her hands together, her enthusiasm contagious. I'll start immediately. We must have everything ready before Christmas. The couple spent the following days preparing their gifts in secret. Clara worked tirelessly, her needle flying through fabric as she stitched tiny garments with love and care. She chose the softest materials she could find, crafting shirts as fine as silk, coats lined with wool, and trousers tailored to perfection. She even knit stockings, her fingers deftly weaving intricate patterns into the yarn. Elias, for his part, took special care in crafting the shoes. He selected the finest leather, cutting and shaping it with precision. He polished them until they gleamed, adding tiny buckles for a touch of elegance. As he worked, he imagined the joy on the elves' faces when they received the gifts, his heart swelling with anticipation. When all was ready, Clara laid out the clothes and shoes on the workbench, arranging them neatly under the soft glow of a lantern. The garments looked like they belonged to royal dolls, so exquisite was the craftsmanship. The couple then retired to their hiding place, eager to witness the elves' reaction to their offerings. As the clock struck midnight, the tiny figures appeared once more, their movements as graceful and purposeful as before. But this time, when they climbed onto the bench, they paused. Their wide eyes took in the carefully arranged clothes and shoes, their expressions shifting from surprise to delight. The elves examined each item, their tiny hands brushing over the fine fabrics and polished leather. With childlike glee, they began to dress, slipping into the shirts and coats, pulling on the stockings, and fastening the buckles on their new shoes. They twirled and danced on the bench, their laughter like the tinkling of tiny bells. Elias and Clara watched from their hiding place, their hearts full. they had given back a fraction of the joy these mysterious beings had brought into their lives. As the elves finished their merry dance, they looked around the workshop one last time, their eyes shining with gratitude. Then, with a graceful leap, they vanished into the night, leaving behind only the faint echo of their laughter. The following morning, the shoemaker's workshop was quiet, its usual air of industry replaced with a profound stillness. Elias and Clara stepped out from their hiding place, the memory of the elves' joyful farewell still fresh in their minds. The workbench was empty, save for the faint marks of tiny footsteps dusted in flour that Clara had sprinkled the night before. "They're truly gone," Clara whispered, her voice tinged with both sadness and wonder. Elias nodded, his gaze fixed on the workbench where the elves had danced and worked so tirelessly. "Yes, but they have left us with more than prosperity. They've shown us the power of generosity, kindness, and unseen hands that guide us through life's hardest trials." From that day on, Elias and Clara continued their work as shoemakers, their business flourishing with an ease that seemed touched by magic. Word spread through the village of the couple's fine craftsmanship, and their shoes became sought after far and wide. But no matter how much wealth they amassed, they never forgot the humble beginnings that had brought them to this point. In the evenings, Elias often found himself gazing out of the workshop window, wondering about the little benefactors who had changed his life. Were they dancing in the woods now, or helping another struggling soul in need? Clara, meanwhile, would sometimes set an extra plate at the table, a quiet tribute to the elves who had once been part of their lives. Years passed, and though the elves never returned, the shoemaker and his wife lived long and happy lives, their prosperity growing with each season. Elias's hands grew slower with age, but the spirit of the work, the precision, care, and gratitude remained as strong as ever. Clara's sewing needles, too, moved with a quieter rhythm, but her stitches carried the same love they always had. When the couple finally left the workshop for the last time, their legacy endured. The little shop remained a cornerstone of the village, a symbol of resilience, kindness, and the magic that can flourish when hearts are open to it. And though the elves were never seen again, their story lived on, passed down through the generations as a reminder that even the smallest acts of kindness can create ripples of transformation. Thus, the shoemaker's table became legend, a story whispered by firesides and told to children as they drifted off to sleep. A tale of tiny, unseen hands, a pair of grateful hearts, and the miraculous power of giving. Good night.